Welcome to Coffee, Conversations, and Badasses podcast. I'm your host, Dustin Hayes. We bring you heroic stories from badass people who overcame mental health, addiction, relationship, and business struggles. The road to success doesn't come easy, but these badasses didn't quit. The heroic stories are told with the hopes of saving lives and to let you know you're not alone during these difficult times. And the show wouldn't be made possible without our sponsors, Red, White, and Badass Brew, Coffee as Bold as American Spirit, and Go Man Go Productions. Your vision is our mission because we see it too. I want to introduce our next guest, Hector Bravo. He's not only worked in some of America's most violent prisons, he's an Army veteran and has 10 years of sobriety. He also has a badass YouTube channel, That Prison Guard. Without further ado, Hector Bravo, man. How are you doing this morning?
Good, dude. How about yourself?
Good, man. Woke up and it was a little chilly in San Diego. So
freezing,
but that warm cup of coffee really helped out. So
right.
You're a coffee drinker, right?
Big time, dude.
Yeah. What's your favorite kind of coffee?
Red, white, and brew, my man.
Red. Oh man, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm really partial to coffee, obviously. But what happened was Starbucks, man. Starbucks really changed the way I drank coffee. And you knew a crappy cup of coffee when you got one because it had Starbucks logo on it. But man, absolute pleasure having you on the show today. So tell me a little about yourself, man. What's your morning routine like?
Oh, dude, I wake up at 3 in the morning. I brew my coffee, right? First thing, I probably take a piss in the morning. Between the coffee and the piss, it's either or, how full the bladder is. And dude, lately the whole freaking 12-cup pot, man, just for myself, just because I've been grinding a lot throughout the day. And
do you drink the 12 cups throughout the day? Or are you like
first half of the day?
First half of the day? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was about to say, or you just swallow that before 6 a.m. Like
first half of the day. Before noon for sure, man.
Yeah. I mean, I'm with you, man. When I get up, it's usually do the ninja roll out of bed, step on the dog, trip over the dog, and then, take that morning piss. And then it's like, all right, I have to make it to the coffee pot.
Plus, my wife started tapping into it. I used to do like 10 cups for myself, and then she started tapping into my stuff. So I had to do the 12 for her.
Man, talk about, that's compromise. You're like, okay, fine. I'll give you the 2 ounces. Just leave me the 10.
Right.
Or the 2 cups. Leave me the 10.
Cups.
Yeah. Oh, don't worry.
So yeah, dude.
I'll fuck this all up.
It's all good. So I wake up, started, I got my YouTube channel going on. So start cranking out content, start reaching back out to the fans. A lot of commenting back, checking the emails, touching bases with clients and stuff like that. So
you hit the first thing in the morning, man. It's fucking business.
First thing, dude.
First thing in the morning, business, man. You don't even get pleasure. I mean, like that's.
Well, the coffee is a pleasure, but
that is true, man. I can't start my morning without it. Now I have tried, and I have.
Oh hell no!
And those are real struggling days.
Yeah.
Without that brown, sweet fucking nectar, man.
For sure.
Usually it's like, okay, now I need some meth maybe to keep me going through the day. Cause
it's funny you should mention that because I was going to say, hey, later on, we'll talk about why I love coffee so much. And then you bring up meth and I'm like, all right, we're going somewhere here.
Well, we'll get in that here in a minute for sure.
We'll take it in baby steps. Yeah. Well, that escalated quickly.
Listen, we don't want to blow our load right here at the beginning.
Right. That escalated quickly, but yeah, dude.
Oh, shoot, man. So where did you grow up?
Brawley, California, man. Small ass town on the way to Glamis. Most people know where Glamis is out. Those sand dunes. They ride the quads, the ATVs. It's like on the border of Mexicali, Mexico.
Really? And I've lived here for 20 years. I don't know where Brawley is.
Oh, it's in the Imperial Valley, man. Imperial County. You got El Centro. You got Brawley.
Gotcha. How was it like growing up there, man?
Hot. In the summertime, it gets the most was like 127 degrees one summer. It's desert, so 115, 117 on the reg. Small town. You get in a lot of trouble if you stay there. If
Sure.
If you got an addictive personality like me, but yeah, a lot of drugs, man. Like I said, it's on the border of Mexico, so that's coming across.
Yeah, it's just a pit stop for them, huh?
A lot of drinking, right? So there's not much to do, so you find stuff to do.
Well, that's the thing when you live in small towns, and this isn't just to a Brawley or a California town. This is towns across America. You know, it's like you got drugs, alcohol, and fucking. I mean,
drink, fight, fuck, man. That's it.
Yep. Drink, fight, fuck. And so it's like, what do you do with that pastime now? How do you kill that boredom, you know, growing up?
And Brawley, I mean, there's a lot of little small towns that are out there, but I mean, Brawley was always turned up, pushing the limit on, you know what I mean? So,
oh, you guys set the stage for what's going to happen next, huh?
Oh, yeah, man. It's kind of like one of those rowdy.
Nice, man. So how was it growing up? Was you single parents or?
No, dude, believe it or not, I actually grew up in a pretty average, normal household. Both parents, they didn't divorce. They would argue a lot. I do remember those arguments of yelling. And my father was a correctional officer. At the age when I was like 9 years old, he joined the department. I remember that. That's what I forgot to mention. There's 2 prisons down there also. So the majority of people will either become a border patrol agent because it's on the border right there, or work in the prison system because there's 2 pens right there.
Gotcha. And then
my mom
have knuckleheads and offsprings who want to cause some ruckus.
There you go, man. All in the same family too. I mean, that's kind of life in general.
So is it normal? And is it normal for, you know, growing up there? I mean, border patrol, correctional officer, people kind of follow that footsteps in their parents. Is that kind of a? It's a
family. It's a family. You can see it throughout the department. You can see it. It's a family. A lot of siblings, a lot of father, son, mother, daughter combination.
Okay. Yeah. That's awesome. I mean, that's awesome and maybe not so awesome sometimes. But so parents, you know, married, stayed married, still married?
Still married, man. Wow. Still married. Yeah.
Wow. That's a feat, man, especially in this day and age. Like,
yeah. Shout out to my pops.
Yeah. All right, man. We'll make sure we plug him in. You know? Oh man, that's awesome. So you had a pretty decent upbringing, you know, pretty blue collared, it sounds like.
Yeah, I mean, we weren't rich and we weren't poor. In the beginning, it was it was rough, you know. And I had a sister growing up. She was 3 years younger than me. I mean, I still got 3 years younger than me, so we kind of got along all the way.
Nice. Yeah, because you didn't really have to compete, you know, for much because you were in different little stages of your childhood.
Yeah, it was awesome, cool. Man. It was cool.
That's awesome, man. So you went to, so you grew up there. What happened after you grew up, man? High school? How was high school? How was school? Did you struggle or were you just like an A student?
Well, I was a class clown, man. Not by design, just kind of teachers writing on my report card at a very young age. You might want to get this guy checked out for ADD, ADHD. And this is when I was like in 3rd grade. So I was born in 1984, man, just to give you an idea. So that's all kind of new. I was a hyper kid. Got along with everybody. You know, I was a social butterfly, I guess you can say. And small town, dude. I didn't play sports. I was a skater. So. Oh,
really?
Yeah.
Does it Brawley produce a lot of skaters? Wasn't there a famous skater out of Brawley?
I don't think Brawley, the famous baseball player, Sergio Romo for the Giants.
All right, man. Yeah. I don't know who that is because I'm not a big sports guy. Yeah. I tried to be, but man, I just don't have the memory for names.
I hear you.
I could barely remember my own name.
I hear you.
You know, I blame that on ADHD. You know, you touched on that, man. And man, that is a struggle, especially the 80s, because that's when it really kind of came out. Yeah. And teachers didn't know how to handle us kids with ADHD. You know, they're like, how come you can't sit still?
So being from Mexican descent, man, my parents were like, oh, you're not going to take medication. You're going to get an ass whooping is what you're going to get. And boy, did I get my fair share.
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah. Being from Oklahoma, man, we're not, the belt is a real thing and so are switches. So
yeah, I hear you, dude.
I have felt leather on this ass more times than I wish I remember.
Yeah.
You know, but that was real. Like, correction by, punishment, like, hey, you do wrong, you get punished. It's kind of like life. You go rob a bank, you get punished. You know what I mean?
I kind of noticed the correlation when the spankings went away, the kind of crime just skyrocketed, man.
Yeah, or when they couldn't really spank your ass anymore because it's immune to it, you know?
Oh, that too.
When you laugh, when your dad hits you with the belt and you laugh, he's like, okay, obviously this is not working anymore. You have graduated to
the next level.
The fist now.
Yeah.
Yep. And I was on the receiving end of one of those, and I was like, yep, that's enough. I think I know where the line's at, and I crossed it that time. So
yeah,
make sure I don't cross it again.
Right.
And man, that's awesome. You know, I'm a big believer in spanking. You know, now I don't, you know, if one mess up, whatever case, no, not a spanking.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think there has to be some correctional punishment there. There has to be.
I got a 4-year-old daughter, and yeah, I've only probably spanked her less than a handful of times, and just enough to get her attention. Not even really spankings, man, just enough to get her attention. They're like, oh.
Well, also, we live in this day and age right now where, like, I punished my son in public, you know, because he was acting a fool and would not listen.
Yeah.
And people were shocked that I spanked his butt.
No, they shouldn't be shocked.
And I'm like, well, wait, you're just going to let your kid act a fool? You know? And meanwhile, I see these kids just on the floor crying, tantrum. And I'm over here like, listen, if you don't do something, I'll do something. Like, you know, like I know how to stop a tantrum. I can throw a bigger tantrum.
Easily.
You know? Yeah. And, you know, so now we are in this society, like, it's taboo if you even say a cross word to your kid in public.
Yeah. I don't buy all into that. Like, I don't participate in all that. Yeah, my child needs correcting. She's going to definitely get some correcting. But she's a great daughter. Perfect daughter.
Oh, yeah. So are my kids. And, you know, I didn't spank them very often. Yeah. I mean, my oldest son, handful of times maybe. My daughter, maybe once or twice.
Yeah.
And then my second daughter, my youngest daughter, I'm not sure if I ever spanked her.
Dude,
she's like a quiet, she's like a just a ghost problem. Like, because she doesn't do anything really like bad, but she's sometimes involved with the drama just by conspiracy. She's just kind of like pitting the drama.
Yeah, I get it.
And I'm like, I can't really punish that.
Nah.
But, you know, because you're just kind of like playing the sides here, and then them two fight it out.
For sure.
You know? And then I laugh. And then my youngest son, he hasn't been tested, but I definitely think he has ADHD. I mean, he is a spitting image and spitting attitude just like mine. I'm like, oh man.
There you go.
I'm like, you know what, son? It's going to be a struggle, buddy. It's okay though. We're gonna work through this. So
for sure.
All right, man. So you grew up with ADHD or ADD, and man, tell me how was that, and how was your experience with that? With teachers?
Well, it was undiagnosed. You know what I mean? It was just a suggestion on a report card at a very young age. But I was very respectful due to my grandparents being older, teaching me manners. You know, it was when I turned 15 years old, got introduced to alcohol, is when things kind of took a turn. Things took a turn, you know.
So that's when that first sip of that,
dude,
alcoholic beverage was your turning point in your life?
If I look back, if I reflect back in hindsight, that's kind of when things, plus, you know, teenage boys, when that testosterone, that puberty, that combination, it was, I gave my parents a run for their money. I actually got kicked out at the age of 15 or 16 while in high school. My dad gave me the option. He said, hey, you could stay under our roof and follow our rules, or you can get out and drink with your friends. I was like, later. And I bounced.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you, so you took off at the age 15?
16. It was like, for sure, my whole senior year of high school.
Wow, man. We have a lot of parallels, man.
Do we?
Oh yeah, dude. I was 17, man. 17 when my dad, he told me, figure your shit out. Or get out. And I was like, all right. So that journey led me to the Navy recruiter.
Same here, dude. Same here. But it was the Army.
You know, I would have worked in the family construction business, but I've either quit or been fired 5 or 6 times. I was like, you know, this doesn't feel very stable.
Right.
So, wow. So 15, man, you went back, and now what happened at 15? Did you graduate high school?
Yeah. So it was like career day. It was like junior year career day. A Marine Corps recruiter came in his spiffy uniforms, talking about going to college, talking about going overseas, talking about everything paid for, and the light bulb went off, dude. Oof. And it's like, that's it. I'm joining the military for sure. It's my ticket out of here, right? Because if you stay trapped in that small city, you're trapped. And it's like, it's my ticket out of here,
Yeah, it's funny that when recruiters come and talk to you, they mention college, and most of the time they're not picking, the valedictorians are going to the military. It's people who are, some knuckleheads, man.
Yeah.
Who guys are like, you know what, we need a life transition, and they bring this college up, which I mean, grateful they do. But for me, I didn't even graduate high school.
Okay.
So I didn't give a fuck about college. Like, college wasn't even on the radar. When I joined, they're like, check this box if you want the GI Bill. And I unchecked the box because I was like, well, I'm staying in the military for 20 years and, get me out of Oklahoma. See you later. And then this lady at the boot camp where we're processing in, she's like, hey, this box is unchecked. And she's like, you should check this box because you're going to need this. I was like, lady, I didn't graduate high school. What makes you think I'm going to graduate and be able to pass college? That is 10 times harder than high school, And she's like, just do me a favor, check the box. And I was like, you know what? Fine. I'll check that box. And I did, thankfully. But yeah, go ahead. So you went back and so you joined the military, you joined the Army?
Yeah. So I ended up.
So why the Army? So you have this Marine recruiter come in and you liked his uniform. Why didn't you go in the Marines?
So I wanted to go infantry. So I knew the Marine Corps had infantry and I knew the Army had infantry, right? It was Afghanistan. No, Afghanistan had not kicked off yet, as a matter of fact. So this is pre 9/11. So the Twin Towers had not gone down yet. So I go home, I tell my sister, hey, I'm gonna join the Army. She, like I said, she's always been one of my, if not the most main supporter. She had never told me no or, oh no, that's probably not a good idea. And she's like, oh, cool. So I went to the Marine recruiting station in El Centro. They're all side by sides. You have all the branches in one same building. And I go in there, I tell the dude, all right, I want to be infantry. He's like, all right, take this practice ASVAB test. Man, I told you. I had a GPA of 2.0, man. C average type of dude. I take the pre-ASVAB. I fail it. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm too dumb to be a Marine. There's no way. Right? The Marine recruiter looks at me. He's like, hey, man, go try your luck next door. But I didn't know what an ASVAB was. I didn't know what a pre-ASVAB was. Dude just tells me, go try your luck next door with the Army. I walk out of there with my head down in shame, like, go to the Army. I tell the guy, hey, I just failed over here. He's like, don't worry about it, buddy. I mean, how they embrace you. And
oh, yeah.
Just sit down right here.
We got a waiver for you.
Yeah. So he's like, hey, you passed, man. Congratulations. I was like a recruiter's wet dream, bro. Young, infantry. I mean, the dude didn't have to sell me nothing. And
you already drank the Kool-Aid, man.
Yeah. And then, like, boom. Mind you, I was like summer of junior year. So delayed entry program. I didn't even know it was called a delayed entry program, meaning that your contract starts then for your overall contract, your 8-year, you got to do inactive ready reserve time. I'm enlisted. 9/11 happens.
So you enlisted. So you already were in. Went through boot camp.
No. I'm on paper.
Gotcha.
I'm enlisted. I've signed a contract. I'm in the delayed entry program.
Yeah, you're delayed entry program. Yep. So this was 2000 when you kind of really signed the paper.
2001. I ended up going to basic training in 2002, July. So the Twin Towers, I'm asleep. My dad wakes me up. So I would periodically bounce back and forth between like being on the go and then coming back, right? I would get too hungry or things would get too tough or whatever. And then I would like bounce again. I was just a pain in the ass, right? So my dad wakes me up. He's like, hey, they're attacking us, Hector. They're attacking us. So first words out of my mouth was, fuck yeah, I'm going to war. My dad was pissed off. He's like, shut the F up. You don't know what you're talking about. I mean, I could see the building smoldering. The headlines on the bottom were like, It was saying like, Al Qaeda. It was saying like possible Osama bin Laden. Whatever it was saying, it was a clear indication that we were going to war. So, yeah, dude, that was 2001. In 2002, July, I head off to Fort Benning, Georgia, right after I graduated. So my parents had to sign that waiver, the permission slip. My pops kept trying to talk me out of it. Why don't you go to college? Why don't you go to college? I'm like, Dad, I don't even like high school, let alone college. I barely graduated as well.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's a talking point. I mean, that is right there, trying to talk us out of it.
Oh, it wasn't going to happen.
It's like, wait, go to college and I was sucked at high school? Like, not sure that's going to work out. That
wasn't going to happen.
So so September happened, which that was a hell of a fucking day, man. One hell of a day for America. And for people who were already enlisted and ready to get, deployed. We weren't really mindset for that yet.
So I remember seeing the Green Berets, the Rangers in Afghanistan. I remember seeing losses that they were taking, killed in action. And that, as a young boy, 'cause I was a boy, was killing me inside. Like, I want to be in the fight. I want to be there. I need to be there. I'm missing out. And it's like, I remember feeling that way inside at that time. Well, I wanted to go to war so bad, man, because I had not experienced it yet.
I think we all had that itch.
Yeah.
Until you go there. And then it's a different war when you come back, because it's not like what we think.
No, it's not. I don't know what I was thinking, man. I don't know what I was thinking.
When it happened, I was on the USS Nimitz and I was on duty, and we're watching TV, and then all of a sudden it popped on. I think it was called AFES or something like that, or something. I can't remember the TV show. It pops on, and I'm like, what the fuck is happening? Like, we just got hit, and so we saw the first one go down, and then the second one, and we are going, okay, well, we're going to be in here for a while. We're not leaving. And then we went to whatever Bravo it was, and went to, and we were stuck on the ship for 4 days, and they wouldn't even let people on bases for days. And so we were just stuck on there doing duty. And finally, about the third day, I was wearing the same pair of underwear, and I was like, well, these things are just getting a little ripe, so I'm going to toss these in the trash.
There you go.
And so I just had overalls. I didn't have my other uniforms and nothing like that because I lived in town. So I didn't live on the ship. And then we were getting ready, man. They were like, all right, well, prepare to leave. We're going to New York. So we were like, all right, well, here we go. So you were back. So 9/11 happened. You went to boot camp in 2002, and you're like itching, man. You really need to scratch that itch and to go to war, man. So you're 11 Bravo?
Yeah, 11 Bravo.
All right, what's 11 Bravo for people who don't know military?
Infantry, dude. You go in as an 11 X-ray. So you can, in essence, being 11 Charlie, a mortarman, the people that hang in the back with the mortars. And they were getting a lot of action in Iraq, too, going out on patrols, kicking in doors. But that's what an 11 Charlie does, mortars. 11 Bravo is your ground pounders, the door kickers.
Yeah, man. Pipe hitters, man. So, so you went in there, and tell me about, tell me about that, man. So tell me about your first tour.
First tour was in Iraq, 2004. They had already captured Saddam Hussein. They had already did the invasion, the shock and awe. So in our minds, we thought the war was over. We thought, hey, we missed our opportunity. This sucks, right? We were wrong. That was the beginning of the insurgency.
Yeah, 100%. You take down one, and somebody else was going to come in here and try to fill the void. Little did we know.
That was Operation Iraqi Freedom 2, OIF 2. Landed in Kuwait, trained there for a month before our push.
What did you do in Kuwait?
Oh, dude, man. It was like living in Glamis. Bunch of sand dunes, like sand. Like, you couldn't even see, like, the horizon. You couldn't see anything. Tents, porta-johns. The showers, if any, they were very limited. Definitely cold water. Nothing like training, live firing range trainings.
Really? So, but they didn't do that here in the States?
I was
They didn't do
stationed.
that at what, Fort Jackson in North Carolina, is it?
I was stationed in Germany. I was with the First Infantry Division, Big Red One.
Gotcha. Okay, so that makes more sense. You know, because they're not going to fly you to North Carolina to do the training and all that good stuff.
My contract actually worked out perfect, dude, because I enlisted in a 3-year contract. They actually had that. Then. Like a lot of people didn't know that or whatever. So I trained extremely hard for 2 years, deployed for 1, and then I got out. Well, deployed for 13 months.
Yeah. Oh, then you did the 1 tour and out, huh?
Thank God I only signed up for 3 years, because my buddies that all signed up for 4 years, they all got stop lost. They had to go back to Baghdad for 18 more months. So there was a lot of stop movement, stop loss, and hell no. I was done.
So you had this really vivid dream of like, man, it's my time, man. I was built for this, and then you went there and you were like, man, I'm not sure I want to continue this, because this is
the beginning. Like the mindset started changing. Things that stand out to me was the push from Kuwait to the center of Iraq. I was in Balad, which is right in the middle of the Sunni Triangle, right in between Tikrit, Fallujah, and Baghdad, right in the middle. I remember seeing like the faces of the locals looking at us with like hate. You can tell when somebody hates you. And that caught me off guard. Like, hey, these people are not thrilled. Some were waving. The others were, flipping to the bird, but you could tell them and I'm like, oh man. A lot of major incidents that transpired throughout the deployment. One of the ones that stand out to me that kind of changed the game and the dynamics was May 12th, 2004. I got hit by a roadside bomb. We were out on patrol. The IED blew up right next to my Humvee. It wasn't even an up-armored Humvee. That's another thing, dude. 2004, we were not rolling around in up-armored Humvees or anything like that.
Yeah, MRAPs weren't even a thing.
Nope. I think Strikers may have barely came on board in other units, but I said we were mechanized, so we had Bradleys. But my platoon got detached and attached to tankers 1 month before the deployment. The Army was trying all kinds of weird stuff, man. They made a company of 1 platoon of engineers, combat engineers, 1 platoon of infantry, 1 platoon of tankers, and 1 platoon of National Guard. It's like,
what?
But they use and abused us, though. They use and abused the engineers and us big time. The tankers did. So,
oh, really? So tell me, like, how did the tankers like abuse you? It's like, hey guys,
well, they would be playing like Xbox while we would be out patrolling. We were doing it all: patrols, QRF, quick reaction force, raids at night, guard on the post on the FOB, Palawada, guards on the detainees and targets that we were bringing back from the raids. Route clearance, convoys. We were doing all of this 24/7, 365.
One of those things that really, really scare the shit out of me. All that does, really. No, it's scary. Now I look back, through my experiences, and I'm like, man, thank God, I didn't get, blown up or hit by an IED. But route clearances, people don't understand. Like, there's this big vehicle that has this little tractor thing attached to the front of it, and your purpose is to roll over IEDs to blow them up. Like, wow, that's a job in the military that somebody signs up for, and it's usually an engineer or something of that sort.
Yeah.
That's manning those whatever they're called. I don't know what they're called. I didn't, I was not transport, or route clearance, but that's a super, super, super dangerous job, and just, hearing somebody and hearing people go through that, it just, the hair on the back of my neck just raises up, and I'm just like, like, I couldn't imagine, because I've seen a lot of it. I've seen a lot of them blow up. But so you did route clearance, you did all these sorts of jobs, you were abused and abused, kind of slapping you around, like, no, we want to sit here and play Xbox. You need to go out there and do some route clearance or go knock on these doors.
So yeah, dude, like on those like we were actually walking on the side of the roads, in front of the Humvees to look for IEDs. Yeah, it was just wild, man. It was
That's
wild.
how they cleared IEDs?
In 2000,
you guys walking in front of them?
In 2004 till we got smart. You know, you get salty, you stop caring, right? Sometimes at gunpoint, we would stop Iraqi vehicles, have those civilians get out and start kicking boxes on the side of the road, because it's like, hey, this is your country. You go get blown up. But like I said, that comes with time and experience. Like,
sure. Let's get back to that. The IED, when you got hit with the IED.
So yeah, the IED itself didn't change me. The explosion, right? It was loud. It was so loud that it wasn't loud, if that makes any sense. It was like, right? Because we were in the blast, black smoke, debris. The windshield got blown out. The tires got flat. My buddy Waylon was in the back on the 240. He goes down. And then I think he went down from like the concussion, the blast, because there was a little slot in from where I was driving to back there. I look back, I don't see him. I'm like, Waylon. I'm coasting because I don't even know what happened. I assume we just got a flat tire. So my sergeant is yelling at me, stop the fucking Humvee, we just got hit. And I'm like, slow motion now, like we just got hit, coasting. And then I hear Waylon open up with a 240. That's another thing. The SOP back then was you open up 360 degrees when you get hit by an IED. Everybody.
Yeah.
The Wild Wild West.
Well, yeah, because you don't know what's happening next. You don't know what happened. You don't know if it's an RPG. You don't know if it's a mortar at the time, right? You're still assessing the damage that just happened.
That, it was new. They would eventually change that, but they would follow up, ambushes, like, what's that word I'm looking for? Like, not unique ambushes, but like where they'll follow, they'll hit you with IED, then they'll start shooting at you, and it's like different layers to it.
Yeah, they compounded the attack.
Stuff like that.
First, they want to take out a lead vehicle, stop the convoy, right?
Yeah,
and then they start really hammering down on the attack, and really from all sides, man. They're hitting you with small arms to the RPGs, and
so that's why we would open up in 360 degrees on that one. So the IED, so I hear gunfire, pop, pop, because I go around a curve in the road, right? I hear M16s firing. I kind of start walking, making my way that way, and one of my sergeants comes and he's like, "Hey, Farrell, I beat your record." What he was referring to me was that, because I had April 15th, I had shot somebody. I shot a dude. The dude was far, extremely far, probably like 250 meters, maybe 300 meters away. We were both running. We were both, it was kind of impressive. You look back. Anyhow, he was referring to that. I beat your record. I'm like, what do you mean? Because I didn't know I couldn't see. I didn't know what was happening behind that curve. And he's like, I just shot somebody farther than you did. And I'm like, what? You guys shot somebody? Right? Because I'm like, everything's kind of moving the way it's moving.
Yeah. And paint the scene real quick. You're not saying you're in some field or open thing. This is urban.
No. This was not urban. When I was in Balad, it was very agricultural. Okay. So you had, I apologize for that. You had date vines, you had watermelon fields, those date trees. I meant to say grapevines. A lot of everything agricultural, green. It was green where I was at. Fields.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. So
is it even scarier sometimes?
Well, you got those houses out in the, out sporadically. Villages are what they were, really. And that's kind of the area. It was a bad area. Checkpoint 27. We always got hit when we went by checkpoint 27. That was it. And that was early on. So, as a matter of fact, 1 week prior to that, my buddies had gotten hit. We would alternate patrols, so it was just a really bad location, man. So they're shooting into the fields, right? Open fields. There's wood lines, like brush. So I couldn't see because they were around a bend in the road with like bushes or trees that was blocking it. So he tells me I just shot somebody. So now I see a white truck, man. And I see the door open from the driver's side. I see some fat Iraqi fall out of the driver's side into the street, wearing a man dress. I see 2 little kids jump out of the truck, and I'm like, oh my God, what, like, they lit this truck up. You know, the truck was leaving the scene of where the IED detonated when it detonated. That's why they lit it up. I see a passenger get out of, an adult male get out, pick the fat dude up, put him in the bed of the truck. They are looking at us like they want us to help that guy. Somebody saw another IED that did not detonate, a secondary IED that did not detonate right there next to the other one. So we're like,
so there was two IDs stacked next to each other.
They would sometimes daisy chain. That one was not a daisy chain, but it was just 2 IEDs, 2 different IEDs that they had planted. One blew, the other one didn't. So they're like, we're yelling, hey, I don't even know if they knew English or whatnot. Hey, you bring them to us. We're not going over there. You bring them to us. They kind of gather, they throw the fat dude in there. The guy gets in the driver's seat, turns the truck around and starts bringing them to us, right? And I was 19 years old, man. This is where I told you that my mindset of war, this is when it got weird, like real. These 2 kids, these 2 boys, little boys, they were like 9 years old, maybe like 6 years old. Man, they pull the truck up right there. The guy is shot. He's shot. He's acting like he's shot, but there's 0 blood. 0 blood at all. Nothing. So, right, kind of like, I'm not going to say this was this is the first time I saw a gunshot, because I told you what had happened that month prior and a couple other little skirmishes or whatever. So we're like, this is weird. The kids are freaking out. That was the sons. That was the sons of that individual that was shot. We look in the back of the man dress. There's a little tear in his dress. The medic kind of opens it up. Yeah, you see, man, it's like a little shank, like if somebody stabbed you really small. I think they hit the dude with a tracer, so it cauterized that wound. It was 5.56. No exit wound. Probably bounced around all over inside of him, and he was just spitting up blood, spitting up pieces of stuff, right, in front of his children. They are wailing, screaming. I have a water bottle in my hand. I offer to give it to the kid because I don't know what to do, man. They knock it out of my hand, like, you know, violently, and like I'm like, oh man, like,
the fuck that shit in boot camp, you know.
Well, that's what I'm saying is like this. It got real, like. So the dad is saying stuff in Arabic and then going out, right? Unconscious, waking up, saying stuff, going out unconscious. Every time he's doing that, these kids are just freaking out even more. Finally, he dies. He dies right then and there. He dies in the bed of the truck, defecated on himself, right? And they don't, I mean, this is war. Like, and I remember thinking like, I didn't anticipate this. This wasn't in the cards. So the individual was barefooted, in the back. He was dead, barefooted in the back of the white truck. The remainder of my platoon, my patrol, followed the copper wire. So the way that they would detonate the IEDs is they would get artillery rounds, 155 rounds, 1 or 2 of them. They would hook up a 9-volt battery with a blasting cap in there with a wire. Copper wire, thin copper wire. They would string it out. This was a command detonated IED. String it out 100 yards, 200 yards, and wait there till you drove by. Then they would touch you with a 9-volt and blow your ass up. Well, there was a pair of sandals left at that wire. My sergeant gets those sandals, comes back to the dead body, and puts it on his feet. Boom. It's like a perfect fit. So then I'm like, what the hell? Like, why would that dude do that? Like, why? Like I said, man, war, they show that shit on Black Hawk Down or We Were Soldiers, man.
That's, it's difficult to process. You know what I mean? When it becomes so real like that, so quick. You know, you just had this guy who tried to kill you. Literally. And now you have a job to try to save his life.
I think the worst part, I think the worst part was having the kids watching their dad die. I don't think it would have been, had we just killed a guy who tried to kill us. That's cut and dry. That's black and white. This was gray. This was extremely gray.
Yeah, because you didn't know if it was really him or not, right?
That also, until, it did make us feel better. It made us feel at peace when that sandals fit his feet.
Yeah. So that sergeant knew what the fuck he was doing. He was just like, listen, I've seen this a time or two, man. If the shoe fits,
literally,
like that, and that's stuff that people don't understand that you process, when you're going through war. It's not just about, the people that died on our side. It's about the people who also we were responsible for killing.
Yeah, and there was a lot of killing back then. And then,
no, absolutely.
The worst day of my life happened to fall on my mom's birthday, September 10, 2004. Our medic got killed when we were out on patrol together. And that sucked bad. Yeah.
How did he, if you want to tell, how did he?
So that was September.
KIA.
That was September 10, 2004. Like I said, it was 13-month deployment. So it was just constant, never let up, right?
And people don't understand that, 13 months, that is a long deployment of continual combat and continual combat stress.
Yeah, you're not safe.
Difficult. You're
not safe outside of the wire, and you're not safe on the FOB because of indirect mortar fire and rocket fire and car bombs.
Yeah, and also, people who we bring into the FOB to work.
Yeah, that too.
It's not a safe environment. We're not over there, singing Kumbaya and drinking beer. There's none of that. You're always on that alert. You're in that state of mind the whole time you're on that deployment. So your doc got.
So yeah, dude,
died.
We were asleep in the morning time. Part of our job, a quick reaction force QRF, was to go to the point of origin. So I mentioned our camp would get mortared. We had this cool little satellite thing that would track the trajectory of the round and give us the point of origin of where that round came from. So we would always go out to there and investigate. By then they were long gone. But it did not take long for the Iraqi insurgents to catch on to our tactics, and they set us up. They planted an IED at that scene, and so at 7 a.m, they're like, Hector, wake up. And they probably call me by my last name. Farrell, wake up. We just got mortared. Which was weird because I didn't even hear it. I didn't hear the incoming. I didn't hear nothing, right? That's not unrealistic because you get used to it, right? So I'm groggy. Right off the bat, that day was weird. That morning was weird right off the bat. Groggy. Everybody's kind of slow fucking it, putting on their gear, putting on their helmet. We load the Humvees. We pass by the main gate. My friend Maldonado from Puerto Rico, he's working the gate. He kind of just looks at us and we look at him, which is so weird because normally we would be like, hey, what's up? Or so 4 vehicles, right? We traveled in 4 vehicles. One of them was a 113 armored personnel carrier, straight Vietnam era box looking, on tracks. The other 3 were Humvees. So I'm familiar with where this location is because this was our sector, our patrol area of patrol, right? So we come up to a T intersection. There's 4 and we hear over the radio that the last vehicle had broken down like a mile away, which is kind of weird because we didn't really spot that or know it. So I was like the 3rd in line. So the lieutenant at the time made the decision to send our vehicle back, link up with that one. Right, we were right around the corner down the road from the point of origin. I didn't know what their plan was. I was assuming they were gonna stay there, but I didn't know, right? So we go back. So now I'm linked up with the vehicle, and I hear a loud, thunderous explosion. The loudest freaking and the crazy thing about it just kept rumbling like forever, man. It kind of it's like a soul left this world, which in reality it did. It was like, it was so loud, that my friends thought they were taking back on the fob, that they thought they were taking indirect fire. It was followed by gunfire. So we're like, what the fuck? Hey, they're getting attacked. They're getting, mind you, I didn't know that those two vehicles were going to go on ahead. Right? So like, that's what they ended up doing.
On with the mission.
They continued
going to recover that vehicle.
Yes. So we hear that loud fucking, so right, it's your mind is just trying to play catch up. Like, what are these sounds and why is this happening? So you kind of put two and together. Fuck, they went without us. Not that it's a bad choice, right? I'm never gonna blame a lieutenant for that. That's just a decision made like on the spot. So you hear gunfire, like, and I'm like, oh fuck, hey, let's go. They're getting attacked. Let's go. So finally, we jump in the Humvees. I know a shortcut through this dirt road. I see a Humvee in the middle of the street. Like I told you, it was like countryside, like agriculture still, but this was flat fields. And it was right on the Tigris River. The Tigris, or Euphrates? Pretty sure it was the Tigris River, dude. And so, as soon as I jump out of the Humvee, Sergeant Egger looks at me and he said, they killed Doc. And I'm like, what do you mean they killed Doc? And he's like, look at him, he's right over there on the road. And I looked past Sergeant Egger and I see a body in the road. My whole fucking world went like tunnel vision, dark, like, man. And it felt like a nightmare that was not a nightmare, right? You know, you have those nightmares that are so scary as hell, then you wake up and you're like, thank God that was just a nightmare. Well, this was real life. My innocence, I know for a fact my innocence left me at that exact moment. I run over to the body. I don't know why. I think I had to verify. that this was actually true, right? Because I was in shock. I look down. I see his face has speckles of blood on it, the face, it didn't look like Doc to me. Not that his face was injured at all, it just didn't look like Doc to me. Edgar Daclon, he was from Torrance. We used to party a lot together. He was a great guy. He was Filipino. You know, he used to work at GNC. He was buff. Like, I love this dude like a brother, man. You know, in the Army, you kind of have certain crews that you hang out with, certain people you hang out with more than others. And he was definitely within our circle, our small circle, right? So I looked, his leg was in fact injured. So I realized, like, I start hearing more gunfire. I'm like, fuck, man. It's one of those things like training, right? Training kicks in. There's still a job that has to be done. Like, hey, this isn't game over. This is just beginning, right? So I turn back. There's a Humvee. My buddy O'Neill is screaming out in pain, in agony. I got my buddy Hinks bandaging his head. He took shrapnel right to the back of the Kevlar, right to the back of the helmet. He was up in the gun post. So what ended up happening, man, since those two vehicles went forward, they stopped right next to that IED. That IED was buried above ground with dirt on a dirt mound, right? So that's the most dangerous you can get, because you're gonna get all that blast. There was a canal bank that Haji, that Iraqi surgeon, was traced that wire, and he had a clear line of sight to that Humvee. When my buddy Doc Daclon, he was like a grunt to us, man. He was an 11 Bravo to us, right? Straight infantry, because he was always leading, he was always kicking indoors, he was shooting with the best of us. And that's actually what happened. He was the first one out, stood in front of the Humvee, and it detonated. Boom. Blew him across the road. And then that's when we had showed up. Well, my buddy O'Neill was up in the gun. His back was to that IED. So the shrapnel penetrated his Kevlar and gave him kind of like brain damage, penetrated his skull for sure. He's getting bandaged up. Our lieutenant, he took shrapnel to the bottom of his foot because the shrapnel was burning hot through everywhere, and it hit the bottom of his foot because I could see him sitting in the passenger seat of the Humvee holding his knee up, and the bottom of his feet looked like ground beef, right? The boot is like torn, right? And then there's like ground beef on the bottom of his foot. So I'm like, fuck. So Doc's dead. The lieutenant seems to be chilling with his messed up foot, right? Like not in harm's way. Hinks is bandaging up O'Neill. Now, fuck, we have cars coming down the road. And they start yelling, Farrell, we have fucking cars coming. So I'm like, fuck. So I come around, I stand in the middle of the road with my M16. We had M16s back in the day. And I start firing warning shots because I didn't want them to come and see the body. And I didn't know they were car bombs. Like I told you, they would do secondary or other attacks.
Secondary attacks.
And that had just started around the car bomb time frame when they started hitting us with car bombs. So the first car turns around, second car starts coming. It was a white truck. I start shooting above it, warning shots, nothing. It's coming closer. I shoot at the ground, street, nothing. Man, I shoot at the passenger side window because I see the windshield because I see there's nobody sitting there. Nothing. It's still coming. I'm like, I'm gonna have to kill this fucking dude. I'm gonna have to fucking kill this dude. Like, I didn't want to. I had already done stuff like this in the past on that deployment. I did not like the feeling it gave me. Plus, it's one of those things. I don't know if this is a bad guy or not. He's simply just coming down the street, right? By then, he was up on us. It was an old ass dude. We break the window, we pull him out, kind of rough him up a little bit. He was old. He must have been like 80 or 90.
Wow, that's fucking old.
Well, that's probably what explains why he kept driving towards us while I'm shooting at this guy in his vehicle. He just kept driving along.
That's just another Sunday in Iraq.
Pretty much, man. So he gets thrown in the truck. He turns around, he drives off, right? So like, my innocence left me that day. I had to throw the smoke for the medevac to come. The medevac came. I looked down. There's somebody had thrown up on the ground. Come to find out, my buddy O'Neill told me he thinks he's the one that threw up, because of his head wound and stuff like that. Load the bodies onto stretchers and on those gurneys and put them into the Stokes litters and put them into the helicopter, the medevac. And we had to tow that one vehicle back to base because the tires were all flattened. And you see these Iraqi children, men and women on the side of the road. And the puddle of blood that was left from my friend on that street, I don't know, I've never talked about this like publicly, but the puddle of blood was the darkest, thickest blood I had ever seen in my entire life. And I remember a sergeant running over there and just trying to cover up the blood with dirt, like just out of respect or we were just trying to like erase that incident.
Never there.
Right? And the hate that built inside of my heart for those Iraqi people, actual hate, rage, it was flowing through my veins. It was poison. Toxic.
That's crazy that that a lot of people, we go through these experiences, right, through war, but to actually reflect on that and go, this isn't good is gnarly. But did you reflect on that right then, or did you process that after you got out, or was that like after you got off deployment and that's when the real war started happening? Everything
I just told you right now, I was able to tell you without breaking down and crying, is because I've sought the therapy, I've got the sobriety under my belt, I learned a lot. Yeah, the worst part was experiencing all that and not knowing how it was going to affect me. You know, so yeah, I didn't know jack shit, dude. So yeah, dude, you're a great question, you know, great question. And that was the worst part, bro. Ain't nobody gonna tell you about anxiety. Ain't nobody gonna tell you about post-traumatic. Like survivor's guilt. Survivor's guilt, man. I had to do a therapy research at the VA, and I talked about that specific incident. You know, so yeah,
You know,
dude.
That's something that's not very sought on. You know.
Well, you got to think, man.
And
we were back on patrol that following day.
You know, I want to thank you just so much for coming on here and sharing that story, because that takes a lot of courage to sit here and talk about and open up doors that we have closed for a long time, dude. I thank you, dude, for sharing that piece of your life with me. I can't thank you enough, man, and I can't thank you enough for what you did for us over there in Iraq.
Yeah, thank you, dude. Like, when you invited me on this podcast, I'm like, this is gonna be good, because my whole sole mission now is to help other people, like what I went through, what you went through. And I'm not talking about like the actual war there. That in itself is where you got to do what you got to do. I'm talking about the war when you get back, the mental health war.
Yep.
It's definitely real, man. It almost killed me numerous times.
Well, I think we probably should take a break.
For sure, dude.
So, man, we just heard, war's fucking hell, man. But the real war, I think it's about to begin. So you get off a deployment, you experience these losses, these traumatic events. What happens, man? You decide not to stay in the Army. When does your war begin?
This was 2005. There was no Wounded Warrior Project. There was no, at least to my knowledge at that time, there was no mental health advocacy or anything like that. Plus, it was actually like the frowned upon to even say you had an issue or admit that anything was wrong with you. It's kind of something that we hid or I self-medicated. So it all began when I touched back at Germany, man. My drinking. I told you I'm an alcoholic first and foremost, I am an alcoholic, right? That is also something that I learned after the fact. To me, it was just like, oh, I'm making up for lost time. That's what I would tell people. I was in Iraq for a year. I didn't get to drink. I'm making up for lost time. So I have to go extra hard. That's what I would say. Well, extra hard was a fifth of vodka a night. And when a fifth of vodka wasn't cutting it, I would add a 12-pack of Coronas to that. I was only weighing $145 at that time.
Man.
I was 20 years old.
Yeah, you weren't even old enough to drink, man. Well, I guess in Germany you could, though.
Germany. Yeah. So alcoholism got to the point, man, where I didn't know if I was asleep or awake. You know, I didn't know if it, meaning I didn't know, damn, did that actually happen last night or was that a dream? Because it was just a blackout blur.
Sure.
The whole mixture thingy. And I was kind of getting away with it because everybody knew that I was getting out. A lot of people were getting out at that time. So the fact that they disbanded our platoon, second platoon, and sent us to the tankers, we were like the stepchildren. Man, you had dudes smoking weed in the barracks, not caring. We were just out of control.
Was this like they're just trying to get the fuck out and doing anything and everything they can, or just, you know, or they just didn't give a fuck? Like they just stopped. They just stopped thinking about their life, and they're like, yeah, I don't give a fuck, man. I'm on borrowed time anyway.
They didn't give a fuck because it's like a lot of resentment that, hey, you guys kicked us to the wolves, threw us to the wolves. The rest of our company went to Tikrit, Iraq, Saddam's hometown. They were getting hit by small arms fires, RPGs, and a couple roadside bombs here and there. And I know this because they told me, and we were strictly getting hit with roadside bombs and car bombs.
So you came home sort of self-medicating and going down, really just down this path of destruction. And
yeah, dude, back to Brawley. Actually, so back to El Centro.
Oh, so you came back to El Centro or Brawley?
Because my parents, while I was in Iraq, I had moved from Brawley to El Centro. Well, they're all within 15 miles, but yeah, back straight there, Imperial Valley. And what that looked like, man, was isolating in my room all day, drinking alcohol, right? And it would eventually progress to drugs, man. But alcohol, and then at nighttime, I would go out to party. That's when I would really hit it hard, man. Alcohol, drugs, like sleeping around with different girls, like drinking and driving. Like, I never attempted to take my own life on purpose, right? But believe me, I was doing anything and everything to make it end through my actions. If that makes any sense.
Sure. You threw safety out the window. You're like, you know what? I'm going to go get fucking loaded. I'm going to go do drugs. I'm going to go drinking. And I'm going to get in this fucking car. If I happen to crash and I die, oh fucking well. So be it.
It wasn't even so be it. It was like, good. It would be over. Because it was taking its toll around all my loved ones. My parents, they were watching me. I mean, I would eventually get kicked out of my house again. I would land myself in jail. I would,
hold on. So you went to jail? And what happened? Like, what led you to jail? What action?
So during that time, man, I was just saying, I was hitting the alcohol and just self-medicating. I was self-medicating extremely bad, bro. Undiagnosed post-traumatic stress disorder. And that was back in the day when it was not even known.
People don't come out. People don't understand. Military doesn't teach you kumbaya and talk about your feelings. Military teaches you shut up, suck it up, keep going, and the mission next. That's what the military teaches you. They don't teach you like, hey, let's talk about the loss of life or the traumatic events that's happened on deployment. You know, there was none of that around. Matter of fact, what you touched base with a little bit ago, if you talk about it, you probably just put your career at jeopardy.
That too. And as crazy as what I'm saying right now, my goal was to become a correctional officer. My goal was to join law enforcement, maybe even a police agency, right? Because I didn't feel like I was a criminal. And listen, my mindset was not I'm a criminal. Like, I'm not over here breaking into homes. I'm not over here robbing people. I am just getting drunk, getting high, smashing women, right? Like, it's just living it up. I'm 20 years old. Why wouldn't I?
Yeah, you try to fill that void, man.
Right, other 20-year-olds were doing practically the same thing, but ain't nobody was doing it on the level that I was. It was self-destructive, extremely self-destructive.
So you landed in jail. What landed you in jail?
So during that period of time, I was living at my cousin's house. It was a straight tweaker pad, man. People on meth, like, it's the truth, dude. It was, that's where I was. I made it to the bottom. The crazy thing is, that wasn't even my bottom. That was just on the way down. So yeah, dude, so I was with some friends. We were drinking, we were doing drugs. We ran out of alcohol, went to go do a beer run. 7-Eleven right down the street. We go do a beer run right in front of a CHP officer. He sees us, he sees my friend running out of the store, pulls us over immediately, right? Like, pulls us over. I'm in the back seat. I'm thinking, hey, I'm in the back seat. I'm good, right? I'm in the back seat. What am I guilty of? But I didn't know any. I was 20 years old, man. I'm thinking it's a beer run. They're gonna cut us loose. Why wouldn't they? This happened to be on a Friday. We go to jail. They in-process us. We go to jail. General population, gang members. Oh, we're in jail, right? The dude that I'm with, his cousin so happened to be the shot caller of the area we were in. So it kind of worked out in our benefit, right? I'm not a gang member. I have no ties to gangs. Never been in one. Had no inclination to be in one. But I'm just there because of my actions, right? Accountability. Because of my actions, I landed myself here. So, yeah, I got to do what they got to do, right? If not, they're going to beat you up. That's kind of what they do in jail. So I get out. And when I get out, I get that examination to go take that test, the letter to go take the test for California Department of Corrections. So I go take the test and I pass, dude. So once I pass, common sense told me to stop doing drugs, right? Because I told you that when we got back from Iraq, a lot of the dudes were smoking weed in the barracks. Well, I wasn't smoking weed in the barracks because I wanted a job in law enforcement. I didn't want to piss hot. I didn't want to get a dirty piss test. Those dudes all got dirty piss tests and got demoted. But when I got out of the army, I'm kind of like, oh, I'm free to do. I'm wilding out right now. You know, post-traumatic stress disorder is what the hell that was. Combined with alcoholism, it was extremely dangerous, man. You know, so then I become a CO, dude, and the background investigator, like, hey, what the hell? Says right here, you were in jail 1 month ago. Because I disclosed it. If not, you're like omitting. And I'm like, oh, yeah, about that, sir. Like, hanging with the wrong crowd. Just came back from the army, which I did just come back from the army, and I kind of was hanging with the wrong crowd. He's like, all right, man, I'll give you a chance. The dude gave me a chance. Eventually, wow. So.
Wow, that one little action could have derailed your whole life. That one moment could have derailed your whole life, you know, and changed the course of action for whatever. You have no idea. Probably down the wrong road. Because then you would probably have got home self-medicated. So you got the correctional officer job. You know, now you're like stoked. I imagine you're like, okay, wow, now I have another purpose. You know,
stoked, but still drinking alcohol and still suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder. So I was able to get through for like up to 3 years. Like, well, I did get a DUI in 2009. So I got a DUI while employed with the department as a young officer. Back then, the rules were very, very like minimal. Like, man, just a little slap on the wrist. Like, hey, don't do that again. I got a 1-day suspension, right? So DUIs and law enforcement are not abnormal.
Right.
But for me, at that time, there was way more to it. My mind was destroyed, bro. Like,
so that shook you up pretty good?
No, not at all. The DUI didn't shake me up, not one bit. That's the thing. I had been, so that was the second time I went to jail. I went to jail for that. And in 2010, I totaled my truck. Freaking destroyed, man. My Tundra that I bought that shit when I came back from Iraq as my gift to myself, man. Freaking totaled it. I'm surprised I didn't die then. I have used up all my 9 lives and then some, man. I wasn't like knocking on death's door. I was kicking that door in, right? Because of my mindset. My mind was, I wasn't bad, I was sick, right? And I learned this in Alcoholics Anonymous. But yeah, I wasn't a bad person, I was a sick person because I had not addressed those issues.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I told you that my sister backed me from the start, right? She backed me, she always supported me. She picks me up and she tells me, hey, Hector, enough is enough. You got to get help. And when she said that, it's something like it clicked. I knew that for my sister to say that, something had to be terribly wrong, right? That everybody was looking for me, man. Like, my job was looking for me. My dad is like, I'm fucking done with you. I am done with you. I am gonna drive you from El Centro to San Diego to the VA hospital. I'm gonna drop your ass off there and you're never gonna call me again. You're never gonna call me again. I'm not your dad. You're never gonna fucking hear from us again. That's when my bottom. That's now I'm sinking. Now I'm about to hit my bottom because of how I felt. Dude, I was on my hands and knees crying in my parents' living room, begging God, why can't I just die? Why can't I just die? Because I totaled that truck going 80 miles per hour and I didn't die. I'm like, this has to be some kind of curse from hell. The fact that I've endured all this stuff and I can't die because I wasn't thrilled that I had survived Iraq when my friends had died over there. I was not thrilled in the slightest. I wished I could trade places with those dudes. I prayed to God that I could trade places with those guys. And that was my mindset. That was my feelings. So I had a fiance too. She's my current wife, man. I was supposed to be at a wedding with her, at her friend's wedding, and instead I called out sick and went to go drink, right? Like just do stupid shit.
Wow.
So just like wilding out, man. Doing stuff, just pissing off the whole world, right? Just like upset, just destruction in my path. We get to the VA hospital, and this was the beginning, man. This was it. My dad, thankfully he didn't do what he said. Thankfully he didn't drop my ass off and leave. I might have just walked out that door. As soon as he left, I might have just left too. He waited for me in the waiting room. I walked up to the emergency room window. There was a lady working there. I said, I need help. Every time I drink, something bad happens. I have these thoughts. I don't know what's wrong with me. She's like, she must have seen how distressed I was. She's like, being nice, like, have a seat, we're gonna get you situated, this and that. Man, I waited in this little room, this little doctor's room for like hours, man. My anxiety was through the roof, dude. They gave me Ativan. I didn't know what Ativan was then. Like, she's like, hey, do you want something that's gonna help you for your anxiety? I'm like, yeah, I feel like I'm gonna have a heart attack. Like, I don't know. Dude, you know the feeling of anxiety, right? Well, I didn't know the title anxiety to the feeling. It just felt like I was losing my damn mind, bro. So they give me Ativan, that kind of calms me down. They're like, hey, you want to go upstairs? And I'm like, what's upstairs? They're like, well, there's lots of people like you. They're going to help you out. We're going to give you we're going to talk to you about this kind of stuff. And I'm like, well, yeah, I came to this hospital to get help. Like, let's do this. We go up there, dude. It was pretty much a psych ward, bro. It's pretty much a freaking psych ward, dude. But like I said, I went in there voluntarily because I was seeking help. And while I was in there, they give out these little pamphlets. These little pamphlets that that say, hey, do you want to look for church? Do you want Alcoholics Anonymous? And dude, even at that point, bro, I'm like, well, you know what? I'm in here. I ain't doing shit. I might have a problem with drinking. You see how bad that was? So I checked the box, dude. And the next following day, they call my name out. It's an AA meeting, an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting. I ain't ever been to one before, dude. I thought AA was for like the bums that like hang out at the park with like a paper bag, right? Like, dude, how old was I at that time? I was 26 years old. 26, right, man? Like, there's no way this is where I ended up. That was my bottom. Right. So I'm sitting there listening to the guy tell his story. Right. Because that's how AA works. I don't want to elaborate too much in it, but I have been in the program since then, dude, since my first meeting. And the dude just gave what he was saying was my life. Right. Like he was repeating. He's like, yeah, man, every time I drink, I get in fights. I crash cars. I do this. I'm like, holy shit. And the guy had 12 years of sobriety. Right. He had 12 years of sobriety. Which right now I have 12 years of sobriety. But
wow, do you reflect back in that moment of like, wow, maybe this is who I want to model after now?
That's the whole point. That's the whole point of the program. It's a spiritual program that gives you hope. So that moment, that man, that environment gave me the smallest bit of hope that I needed, man, that your boy needed to thrive, to pull up, right? The first pull up out of that hole.
Yep. The darkness into the light, man.
That's what that looked like, dude. I can't believe I just said all this stuff, man. But that's how it went, dude. Like, so I go home shortly afterwards. They're like, hey, rehab, 28-day inpatient rehab for your drinking. I'm like, yeah, cool. Yes. I wasn't hesitant. I was actually hopeful, right? Hopeful. Like, all right, maybe I do need this. And another thing, bro, it's like, I don't know no 26-year-olds going to rehab, man. Like I told you, I was the wildest out of my friends. I'm so scared shitless. I'm embarrassed. I'm shamed. I'm going through all these emotions, man. I'm like, I'm a screw up. I'm screwed up mentally, right? So 28-day inpatient program, bro. At that time, that was the year 2010. Simultaneously, I treated my alcoholism, substance abuse, and mental illness. It was called SAMI, S-A-M-I, substance abuse and mental illness. So the first half of the day, I would get treatment for alcoholism. They would pull me out of class and go get treated for P.T.S.D, post-traumatic stress disorder.
Wow, man, that's crazy. That's good. I mean, it's good that they had those programs. I mean, damn, because, I don't think it wasn't very broadcasted. Like, hey, come here, get help for your mental illness, your PTSD, survivor's guilt. But you saw you didn't really see the writing on the wall. Your dad saw the writing on the wall and says, come here, son, bitch. I'm going to do my last thing I could do to help you out. If you don't take it, I'm sorry. And then you went through this program, you found a mentor, and now you graduated the program. I take it you did the 28-day stretch, right?
28-day stretch. It was agreed upon by my warden at that time under the table, as in like, hey, we're gonna grant Hector vacation hours to not make it known, right? To not put all his business out there, which I'm doing now. But I don't care because this is my path now. This is my journey to help others.
Right.
So. Yeah, dude, I graduated that program.
Man, and then you went back to work right away? How did you transition back into?
The thing about Alcoholics Anonymous is that, or being an alcoholic, is not something that ever gets cured. Meaning, if I were to pick up a beer right now, it would be off to the races, dude. It would be off to the races. I know this because I've seen other individuals go through it, right? And I've heard stories, similar stories. So I attend meetings weekly to this day, man. My sobriety is up in the front of priority.
Well, you have to, because then your mental health is going to slide greatly. Next.
There you go. Everything will go to hell. Yeah.
You got to take care of the problem to ensure your mental health stays fit. If that's alcohol, that's drugs. You've got to make that a priority in your life. You got to be number one, whatever you want to call it. It has to be up there.
And I was so adamant that alcohol was not my problem. I kept yelling at my dad. It's because I have P.T.S.D. If you would have seen the things I seen, done the things I done, you would be drinking too. Then my dad told me one time, Hector, haven't you noticed that every time you've been to jail, alcohol has been involved? And I stopped and pondered on him, like, damn, he's right.
Damn. So you go back, you get out, you're done, you graduated, and your CO granted you, your warden granted you, this leave, kind of hid it underneath the table from everybody else. Thank God on him, gave you that chance. So now you got that second chance that this person is giving you, so that's 2 chances in a couple of years, So he had to see something special in Hector to probably even do that, because that wouldn't happen today. They'd be like,
oh, this shit can't.
Wash your hands. Yep.
Liability.
Bye. And you just got another problem. Now you just got unemployed.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So
I'm very grateful.
So then you go back, and how did you transition back into the correctional world?
It wasn't bad. It was better, right? Of course, when Hector's not drinking, life just automatically gets better, right?
Yeah. Imagine how that happens, right? Like, hey, you don't have to worry about flipping cars or going to jail.
So, yeah.
Or waking up going, man, I regret that fucking. I don't know what happened, but I have this hit in my stomach that says something happened.
Right. So it got better, man. For a couple years down the road, I promoted a sergeant. Right? Because like, hey, my communication skills are getting better. I'm not being a piece of shit of a human being, right? I'm not like, I'm actually listening to suggestions of what other people are telling me. Because I was a hard-headed, stubborn individual, man. I would have rather died than been proven wrong or have the last word, sure. Man. But no, that humbleness of that program, and this new journey, it humbled me to be humble or get humbled. I got humbled.
Yeah.
Then I would eventually go to another prison, and then I promoted to lieutenant, man. So now years have progressed, getting better. I got married.
So one thing that I really want to know, though, and we're going to get you getting married here in a minute, but alcoholism, and I'm not sure about drugs, but I'm going to say alcohol is a huge portion of people's lives in law enforcement, in correctional, right? Because that's how they cope with that day-to-day life. They're like, they get off, and it's a hard job. I've never done it, but I've friends have done it and heard the stories, and you're like, man, that is a tough job. Not saying it's like being in war. It's a different war that you're in. It's a different aspect of a hardship kind of life, because of the losses and the things you've seen. You deal day in and day out with the worst of the worst. These guys aren't fucking stealing Butterfingers and going, doing a 10-year stint, man. What kind of guys did were you keeping safe or trying to keep safe? And how did that play into your sobriety? How did that not, make you roll back?
Oh, dude, that's an excellent question, man. This is a fire question. So like, yeah, I consider myself the king of self-medication, right? Because I went through it, man. I hit it hard, and now I got sobriety. So like, I know how it works. I know the feelings that it gives you. For me, it numbed me. I would black out or pass out, meaning I can be asleep. If I'm not awake, I don't have to feel what I'm feeling, right? So, but let me tell you something right now, and to any of the viewers. When I got sober, I had to deal with my demons raw, and that was by far one of the hardest, if not the hardest things I ever had to do, but it is possible. So this whole thing of self-medicating, right? If you don't die in the process, you're not going to be erasing it. You're eventually going to have to deal with that when you sober up. If God, hope that you do sober up. And it was raw, man. I had to relive the whole incident of my friend getting killed on my mom's birthday. Yeah, I didn't mention that it was my mom's birthday, and I had to call her when we got back from patrol and wish her a happy birthday while keeping everything that had just transpired down. Doing it raw, oh, bro, it's like the faucets, right? Like I cried so much that I couldn't cry anymore, right? Like it was just like, man, these poor psychs at the VA, these nursing students, these counselors, man. I opened up. I just opened myself up on that in their rooms.
But that's part
that
of
is
healing.
That's what the healing process looks like.
That's part of healing. You know, when you don't open up and you bottle up in a fucking bottle of Jack Daniels, that's not healing. That's hurting. Opening up, talking about it, and letting people know it is fucking okay to talk about this shit. This shit, you don't have to live your life through it alone, man. If you do, you're probably going to end up with lifelong problems. You know what I mean? So you go through there, you pour out, man. We didn't know, or both of us probably, didn't know I had that much water in me, man. You cry so much, you're like, man, can we just stop?
It was a lot, man. It was a lot.
So you dealt with it, and you got better.
I got better. The way I got better was because the doctors taught me how the brain works. How the brain works as far as like the parts of the brain. When you experience trauma, when you experience your fight or flight syndrome constantly firing off. And once everything was in perspective, I'm like, holy, this is very interesting. Like,
damn. So how did you deal with that day-to-day stress of
it took its toll on me, man. That's why eventually I would walk away from the job. It took its toll.
So tell me that toll. How did that take your toll? Like what is it that, because most people don't know what a life like is in correctional facility officers' life. What is, I mean, unless you see it on fucking TV, which I'll probably call that out.
Hollywood.
Yeah, Hollywood. So what is a life like in a correctional office? It's like, what kind of people?
So here I am trying to get better, trying to be better, trying to be a good human being, but I'm in a prison, which is a very negative, toxic environment. You got murderers in there. You got people that have murdered their parents, which I find like, it gives me the chills or the creeps or the willies to even think about that. You got monsters that hurt children in ways that are unfathomable. You couldn't even think up ways of files that I have read that these monsters have done to children. I mean, unfathomable. And here I am as a professional. I have to keep that professionalism, right? There is no being biased. I can't. I just absolutely can't. I'm a supervisor. I'm a second line supervisor. I got troops to lead. I got a yard to run. I had to carry myself a certain way.
So they wanted you to do this job knowing you're safekeeping these monstrous fucking people that probably shouldn't be on this earth anymore and be numb about it.
You just got to be
and have no emotion. That's super difficult, man.
Hey,
you're asking a lot.
Mind you, without having the option of going home and cracking a cold one, watching a sports game, that wasn't an option for me. There is no alcohol. I dealt with all this shit sober. It fucking sucked.
Fuck.
Staff assaults, getting assaulted by the inmates. Thank God, never personally, but my troops, as I got older, it seemed to me like the younger generation were getting younger. So I assumed, just the way my leaders in the Army taught me, hey, take care of your troops. To be quite honest with you, bro, the thing that broke me was not the inmate population. It was the administration. And if you have a lot of friends or family in law enforcement, I'm pretty sure they'll tell you the same thing, man. Our administration was acting more unethical than our inmate population.
Wow. How?
Because if you're in a position of power or position of leadership, you should not be retaliating, harassment, workplace violence, bullying, code of silence, corruption, sweeping it under the rug, right? And then you're accusing us at the lower levels of doing what you guys are doing when we're in fact not.
Wow. So they use you guys at scapegoats to protect themselves, but two, they're not really safekeeping our prisoners. They're just pawns in some kind of game.
The prisoners are the pawns and the lower enlisted are the pawns. And I say lower enlisted as a figure of speech, but yeah, I mean, imagine the same stuff that's happening on the streets. I see it on the news. It's the same exact thing. When you got police chiefs throwing their troops under the bus for the sake of looking good in front of a mayor, that's the same thing. That's cowardice.
Yeah. Yeah, those guys.
And when I say that, like, oh, Hector, how do you know? Well, I don't think anybody should be making statements on a press conference before an investigation has even been started or concluded, giving your opinions on matters.
Yep. Now you just change public opinion. You know? Oh man, that's crazy. So tell me, what is like the most memorable story that you have in? Now I want two of these, if you'll give them to me. One, the inmate side, like the craziest thing that's happened.
All right, man. When I promoted a brand new sergeant, sober, here we go. Got to a new prison. The first prison I was at was a gang member prison. Your regular run-of-the-mill gang members. Their mind is there, right? They're not crazy. They're not mentally ill. They make bad choices. But I went to Donovan, which is in San Diego, and that was like a mental hospital, bro. That was bad, dude. That was wild. Because these dudes' minds are not all there, and it is dangerous, extremely dangerous. So an inmate with some string tied a knife to his hand, a weapon. He tied the knife, he made a shank, and he tied it between his fingers, around his wrist. So no matter what he did, that knife would not go nowhere. He can open his hand, the knife is still here, right? And he attacked one of my officers in the building. It was a male officer, a youngster, and a female partner working in the building on the floor, because it's 2 floor officers per like 200 inmates in the building. So 2 to 200 ratio. I was on the yard, 8 p.m. at night. It was like on a Sunday. It was February of 2015. I don't remember the exact date. I think like February 8 or something. And the alarm goes off. As soon as I respond to the scene, I see a doggy pile of officers on top of an inmate, right? The alarm is loud, it's blaring. I'm wondering what the hell had just transpired. I have my baton out. Not baton, it's not an asp. So like, we have keys. The sergeant has a bunch of big old key set, and then you have to pass your keys up to the control booth so they can turn off the audible alarm that's blaring extremely loud. So I'm in the process of handing up my keys, trying to figure out what's happening, and I hear that officer say, "He stabbed me, Sarge." Oh, I look, right, and my eyes go straight to that inmate's hand. And I see the weapon protruding through his hand like that. And since I had my baton expanded already, I come down. We don't have guns, man. We don't have the force. We don't have guns, man. That's why they call it the toughest beat in the state. So like, I go over there and I hit the dude right on his forearm, and I break his forearm, right? And the dude reels back in pain, yells. He was a white dude who had been high on meth for 5 days and went crazy and did this.
In prison.
Oh, drugs are a thing for sure. So when he reels back like this, that same officer that got stabbed yelled, "He has it tied to his hand." I'm like, you gotta be fucking kidding me, right? Like, how can this situation just progressively get worse? So I look, and mind you, this is the first time that I've encountered a situation like this. You heard old stories from back in the old days that inmates would tie knives to their hands but would attack other prisoners. This was the present time with attacking an officer. So I go to town on the guy, man, within the use of force policy, right? I mean, technically we had a green light lethal force was definitely authorized.
He still actively has a weapon, and he can actively use it. He can flail that broken arm around.
That's what he was doing, flailing his broken arm around. So, like I said, man, we had a green light to literally kill this dude because of the lethal force that was presented, right? But we didn't. We just. This went on for a while. This went on for a few minutes, man. You know, I was stomping on his hand. I was stomping on his hand as hard as I could. Now I'm trying to break the dude's hand so that it can immobilize it, right? More officers are coming, and I'm stomping, dude. Like, I think my partners that day saw a side of me that they hadn't. Well, clearly they saw a side of me that they had never seen before. And that's coming from the military. That's coming from Iraq. That's coming from combat. That's go time right there. Eventually we got a pair of scissors, cut the string off, put him in handcuffs, and damn, dude, now we got to go get medical treatment for that inmate. He got hit initially he got hit in the head with a baton. That's lethal force already. When he stabbed the cop, boom. Luckily we have stab resistant vests, because he hit him in the chest a couple times, then he hit him in the bicep, hit him in the arm, in the shoulder. Then my friend cracked him, boom, dropped him, and then the dude just popped back up like a zombie on the meth.
Yeah, fucking meth, man. People don't understand fighting somebody on meth, PCP. You're not going to come in there and thinking you hit the gym fucking hard that day.
No.
You're going to take some motherfucker down. You want to feel some power? And he doesn't have to be a workout. He didn't have to even work out. He doesn't have to be physically fit.
Oh, he was skinny.
120 pounds. And that dude will rock your fucking world.
He was skinny. And, you know, so cleaning up the mess. The bad part about that, well, luckily the cop was safe, but that inmate sued me. That inmate sued me for unnecessary excessive use of force, which you want to know why I hated my job towards the end and all of the politics and all of the BS that comes with it. In his little allegation, he wrote in there that he was minding his own business in the cell, and that I went over there, pulled him out of the cell, and just beat him around for no reason.
Which, I mean, probably in his mind, that's what happened. You know, unfortunately, there's this thing called reality, you know?
So that was a wild one, dude. That was a wild one, bro. And that was initially as a sergeant, and I was new to that prison. I'm like, holy shit, is this normal around here? I want to go back.
Welcome to the playground. Yeah.
So
what? That's nuts. And the officer survived.
He survived. He's now a lieutenant. And I like the dude, and he lives by me, and we still chop it up to this day. But
oh, no shit, man.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So that one moment kind of brought you guys together and bonded, huh?
Because that moment kind of set the tone for the rest of my time at that prison, man. People were giving me pat on the backs and like thumbs up, right? And telling me it wasn't just me. There was a lot of troops, right? The officers that were quelling.
What about the other side of this? The prisoners. Did that also set the tone for the prisoners? Like, man, that guy really fucking went to town on him. Like, maybe we probably should cool it on his watch.
That's how prison works. It's a reputation thing. It's a violent thing. Unfortunately, right? I'm letting you know, like, if you're brand spanking new, they're going to test you. They're going to test you because they see a young baby face, a green new uniform. They're going to test you. Well, when you're an old salty dude like me at that time, and then now I'm have to do this in front of people, right? They talk. So somebody was saying, and they'll put extra on the story too. One time I was walking, they're like, hey, that's the sergeant that stomped that guy's head out. But I'm like, dude, I never didn't stomp his head. I was stomping on his hand and his leg. But
fuck, man. All right. So let's so tell me about a story from the higher up echelon. Now we saw something from the prison side. Now tell me something real quick about the higher echelon, like something that just really disgusted you.
There was a period of time in the year 2020 during COVID. We got a horrible warden. This dude ruled like a dictator, like a straight dictator, like Saddam. I'm telling you, there was no difference there. There was no difference in the way he ran that department. Guess what, man? He called me to be his right-hand man. His public information officer, his PIO, which is a person that comes out in front of the TV and the news if some major incident happens, right? And I knew that was going to be bad. But it's one of those things, man, especially in law enforcement. You tell the higher ups, no, they're now gunning for you.
Yep.
It's just one of those things, man. You're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. At that time, did I have a child? at that time I had a child, a newborn, my daughter. She's probably like 1 or 2 years old. I'm thinking family, right? I'm thinking, okay, it's a Monday through Friday gig, 8 to 4, banker's hours. I haven't had this in 15 years ever. So why not, right? Like, I know what I'm getting myself into. This is about to suck. And boy, did it suck, right? He was very unethical, meaning there's policies and procedures. He would pick and choose who he would hold accountable for breaking those. So he would give his people a pass and gun and burn people that went against the grain, went against whatever he said. Whatever he said wasn't necessarily on par with policy or procedure. It could have violated policy, right? But because people are ethical, they're like, I'm not doing that shit. Well, then he would put them under frivolous investigations to get fired, terminated. And this is your livelihood, right? It's a career. That puts food on the table for your family, right? And a lot of people don't have either the educational background or the other skill set to fall into another career field. So he befriended this captain that was incompetent, man. That captain rose to the rank of captain in 9 years, which is kind of extremely unheard of. Like, this dude promoted at every level at the fastest time possible. He had the experience of probably like a 2-week officer in the department. Yeah, I might even be giving too much credit with that one. But
so he's great at pillow talk, you know?
Exactly. So he befriended a Mexican mafia member. You ever heard of the Mexican mafia?
Fuck, yeah.
Well, he befriended a Mexican mafia member. That sounds even crazy to say, right? Like, weird stuff was happening. He somehow, some way got this Mexican mafia member to get transferred down from High Desert State Prison, which is right next to Reno, Nevada, Susanville, and brought him down to Donovan to be on his yard next to him, because they were both up there at one time together, which was weird. The whole situation was weird. So the atmosphere that he created with that Mexican mafia member, he gave him an open door policy to go into his office whenever he wanted. He would tell the inmate would tell the officers to fuck off, the sergeant, the lieutenants to fuck off, and go straight to the captain. So the captain, in essence, took all the power away from the troops on the line.
Wow.
Well, that created a very dangerous situation.
Yeah, in prison and, with the correctional officers as well.
And all this is getting backed by that warden, right? And I have front row seats to this all. So everybody's watching a train wreck about to happen, but everybody's in shock. Everybody's in shock, right? And nobody's really gonna jeopardize their job to say something, because people were blowing the whistle that they were getting retaliated against. The whole thing was bad, man. Well, eventually that Mexican mafia member, along with his cronies, ended up stabbing 2 officers. Really stabbing, bad stabbing. Took away the officer's baton, smashed the officer's face in, broke the officer's entire face in, almost killed him. It was attempted murder on a peace officer. That captain ended up getting fired for something else, but that warden had buddies up at the higher up headquarters, Sacramento, of the highest part of the department, and somehow got that captain his job back. Yeah, they demoted him 1 rank, but still, that dude should not be working in a prison. So that was just a major example, right? And I was just sticking to my stomach.
So let's go back to marriage. So you canceled on your wife to go to her friend's wedding, and you went out drinking instead.
Yeah.
When did you guys end up getting married? And was it after your sobriety, or did you guys have a separation and then rekindled after you got sober, or how did that come about?
I got married.
Did she stick through you the whole time you were going through your shenanigans?
God bless my wife, bro. When I was in rehab, she took it upon herself to go take classes on how to deal with a loved one who's suffering with PTSD.
Wow.
On her own.
Now that's a fucking partner right there, man.
Yeah, dude, haven't always been the best man, bro. I made a lot of mistakes, right? Including that time frame and even afterwards, man. But we're still together. We're still together. We're still grinding and, thriving and at each other's throats at times, man, to be honest.
Right? That's part of being in a relationship. This fucking fallacy of what these marriages online, and you see everybody on Instagram and all these happy couples. Like, hey, wait till those cameras turn off. They're arguing just like we're arguing, man. Like, this is bullshit. We go through that.
Sure.
We go through that kind of level of love and trust and growing, and some people grow through different stages. Like, you grew out of addiction, and she was there with you at that time. And that probably helped mold her and probably gave her respect for you for handling your issues.
What's crazy is the tables would eventually flip during that administration of that warden. This is when I chose to walk away from that position of public information officer. Remember when COVID hit and a lot of people were dying and a lot of people were getting diagnosed with it? Well, my sister-in-law, her sister contracted COVID. Within a 1 week period, she went to the hospital. She got put in the ICU. She ended up passing away. She died. She was 41 years old. I'm 38. That was so devastating, right? I text the warden that night, "Hey, sir, I'm not going to be in tomorrow. I just received news of my wife's sister." You know what his response was? "Bring verification."
Oh, fucking A. Like, I'm sorry, dude. I didn't mean to laugh. But...
No, I hear you. So I got the phone and I threw it, right? And I was like, just like I was done, bro. I was fucking done. So I was like, I'm going all in on my wife, right? This is priority. This is my priority. And when I said those tables turned, I had to be there for her. To this day, she'll tell you, "Oh, you weren't there for me," but I know for a 100% fact, and that was the weird part about it. Now I'm the sane one, right? Now not that she was insane, but I'm saying, like, now I got it going on, and now she is extremely struggling. I mean, that grieving process lasted for 2 years, and it's still ongoing, right? Ain't nothing it's grief, it's loss, man.
Sure. That's crazy.
So yeah, we've been there for each other.
So during this time, you own Torment-Tactical, right?
Yeah, that's a business that I started, Torment-Tactical.
When did you start that?
I started it in like August of 2021.
2021?
Yeah, 2021. Okay. I was already, the light bulb went off to leave the department, to resign.
So you started this Torment-Tactical in 2021.
Yeah.
And now you did this business to transition out of correctional officer, right? Because you knew the writing on the wall. You knew there was a lot of things at stake that, you're not even saying, but I can see it. Your mental health, your wife's mental health, and your livelihood.
Correct.
Is on the line. Your livelihood by every day you going in, you don't know if you're going to be fucking fired because of whatever happens. And if you don't back this warden 110%, you're fucked.
Correct.
Class A, fucked. And he is going to fuck you or get you killed.
Yeah, boom. Damn, dude. Gold. Yeah, that's it.
So you have this overwhelming. Meanwhile, you're trying to maintain your sobriety.
Yep.
So you were like, aha, light bulb, fucking business, exit strategy, let's do it. So Torment-Tactical, man, tell me about it. What made you start that, and what?
So yeah, dude, Torment-Tactical, like you said, man, enough has been enough, right? My dad was not on board with me quitting the department at all. These old school people, these old school way of life people, and no disrespect, but this isn't the 80s or the 90s anymore where you got to grind your ass off for 20 years for a boss you don't like and collect a paycheck and be miserable at the end of it and through it all. Hell no, right? So
loyalty works both ways, man.
So I had 12 years remaining until I could retire at the age of 50. I'm looking like 12 years. 12 years is a long time, man. I was not in trouble. Even since I've been out, people are like, oh, you must have been in trouble to walk away from a lieutenant job. No, believe it or not, some people have enough ethics, morals, and values to choose to do the right thing in life, right? So, yeah, I had a clean slate when I left, which made it even that much better. Like, I ain't got to look over my shoulder. And it was initially it was going to be firearms instruction, right? Since I have combat experience, I was in the crisis response team, which is equivalent to a SWAT team. I was a certified hostage negotiator, and I was a tactical operator. So I got that experience as well. I'm like, I can put that to use.
Yeah, but your experience is different than going out there and shooting in a open environment. Your experience is to how do you tactfully gain entry into a confined area?
Yeah.
Right? Which most of the time when people are going to get attacked in their homes, what are you in? You're in a confined area.
Yeah, all of the above.
Yeah. So it's like
how to stay alive.
Yeah, exactly. That's awesome, man. So
that was going to be able, being in the gun-loving state of California, right?
Yeah.
I kind of shied away from that. I mean, I still do that, right? But it's more so focused on like personal development, coaching, physical training. And that's what I'm working on right now.
Okay. So you're more of a life coach, mentor coach at this point, because, and I get it, man. I get the laws in California. I get trying to teach people how to be responsible with their weapons and tactful with their weapons at the same time. But California is a very strange and difficult place to want to do that, because you are looking over your shoulder, just like if you're in the correctional facility, like, man, when is that one person going to come through this class or that one thing that happens and it's going to crucify me?
Correct.
So then you switched it up to the mindset and all that good stuff. So what is it? What's that transition like?
Which
that transition like? So like you exited and you made this exit strategy.
So
how was that exit? How was that transition?
So I kept everything under wraps for as long as possible. Okay. So Bravo is actually my middle name, my real middle name. So it's kind of cool. Hector Bravo. So that's what I was going by, right? I'm like, because once people at work start finding out about this, it's like high school, man. It's like gossip. And who knows if my higher ups are going to use this against me, which it's not,
not out of question.
It's not out of question at all. As a matter of fact, they more than likely would have, right? So I kept it under the wraps. Once I was able to hide it for 4 months.
Was that 4 months longer than you expected, or did you expect you to hide it longer?
Hey, bro, I was working like 22-hour days, bro, behind the scenes, like grinding, like on the laptop, like researching business, like, mentoring with millionaires and other business-minded people, and just changing my whole mindset of being a regular, what I had been taught my whole life, working 9 to 5 and collecting a paycheck. And this is technically the life like of an entrepreneur, which
100%.
Little did I know is this is my cup of tea right here, bro. Like, this is it, man. But I had to experience what I had to experience in order for me to enjoy or even probably even, excel at this.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So now you also talk about your stories on YouTube.
Yes. Yeah. So, dude, my YouTube, bro, I get on there. I'm trying to be the next Jocko Willink, talking about leadership and shit, man. Talking about leadership, right? Because I have some life experience, so to say.
Yeah. Yeah, you do.
Do a couple videos on that. Not really big hits. Nothing going on, man. California Department of Corrections, they always do dumb decisions. Well, they did a dumb decision where they started mixing inmates that they knew damn well they should not have been mixing, right? Because it's kind of like two beta fishes going to fight if we know we're going to put them together, which jeopardizes everybody's safety. I made one video on that, man, called like the Fresno Bulldog integration video. And that one got like 40,000 hits like right off the bat. And that put me on the map. Like everybody kind of started watching it. And it was like, oh shit. Then something clicked in my brain like, I got something here. And then it was just on and cracking with the prison talk, man.
That's what it takes. It takes that one idea or that one video to get it known, right?
Yeah.
And to change your perspective, because that wasn't your original perspective going into the YouTube, right? It was born by mindset, leadership,
Yeah.
blah, blah, everything else. And you're like, nope, that's also, we can tie that into it. But it's these stories these people want to know.
So the way I carried myself, as a man, as a fair individual, even inside of the walls, I carry myself the same way. Believe it or not, like some of my biggest fans are formerly incarcerated individuals, like former inmates, former gang members, guys that have changed their own life around, which kind of caught me off guard. But I'm like, I'm not surprised in the fact that, hey, I never did nothing dirty to nobody. You know what I mean? So I don't have no fear of looking over my shoulder.
Yeah, because you've held yourself to ethical standard. And that's probably a takeaway for correctional officers that are watching this is, man, just do your job ethically. You don't have, I'm not going to say you don't have to worry about your job inside of it, but shit, if you ever leave it, you probably don't have to worry about your safety outside of it.
Yeah, it's still prison. It's still prison. I still preach that to the ones working in there. Hey, it's be on your P's and be on your toes. Be on your toes, and your safety comes first.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So have you met one of these notorious inmates? And
I love this whole networking thing, man, this whole entrepreneurship. I actually met through some of the people through there. I met like a famous actor. I met an actor recently. We were, hanging out, and it's kind of opened doors and it's kind of opened you.
Oh, really?
Yeah, dude.
That's awesome, man. I love hearing people when they go into business, and this day and age, there's so many avenues of business.
Correct.
And it's so fascinating to see people get into it and then talk about their experiences. And, one thing, what you just touched on is networking. You network. That is a key to business, because what people understand, you can have a fabulous product and you can make the best website, but if it can't be found, you never network, you never market yourself, you're never going to get it found. What are you working on now, man? What's next for Hector Bravo, man?
I've been doing a lot of interviews. I've been doing a lot of podcasts like this, and I've been doing my rounds, so to say. I've actually been in 3 Zoom calls with senators from the state of California involving everything that transpired while in the corrections. Because I'm passionate. I'm still passionate about the job, right? I just unfortunately had to remove myself from that situation to help those.
Dude, that's crazy.
Help those still in there.
Wow. I mean, that's inspiring that, our leadership has taken notice of what you're doing and what you're preaching and going, we should probably get back to this, So what makes you a badass, man? I want to know what makes you a badass.
I don't consider myself a badass, man. I don't consider myself a badass. But I would say courage to ask for help. Out of all the things I've been in, man, gunfights, combat, prison, the most courageous thing I ever did was ask for help, because that was, to me, the scariest thing. And that's maybe just the way I'm built. It's not that courage. It's not that I don't have fear. I have fear. Of course I have fear. I have fear when I left the job. Like, hey, is this going to work out? Is it not going to work out? A fear, right? But I think it's the strategic planning behind it, and not making impulsive decisions and responding versus reacting.
I love that, man. That really resonates, and that's a true badass, man. Badasses, there's misconception. You don't have to carry a gun or be a world-class fighter. You know what I mean? Badasses, right here, what you've done and what you've been through and how you deal with it. That's awesome, man. Dude, Hector Bravo, where can we find you? How can people who watch this find you, learn more about you? Give us everywhere, man. Where are you at? I'm
at YouTube, that prison guard. And then I'm on Instagram, Hector__Bravo. I also got my website up, Torment-Tactical.com.
Fuck yeah, man. So now you know where to find him. Go check him out, hit likes, go subscribe, say what's up, tell him you love the podcast.
For sure.
I appreciate you for coming on this show and, coming on here and telling something that you haven't told before.
Never.
Man. It takes a lot to open up, man. I really do appreciate it. Really, 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 really do appreciate it. So,
thank you for having me, man. Thank you. It was an honor.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. So don't forget to hit subscribe, like, and share. Again, Hector, thank you for being on the show, buddy. And it was a pleasure.
Thank you. Likewise.
If you have a heroic story and you'd like to share it, get in contact with us. Our information's in the bio. Also, don't forget to hit the subscribe, like, and share. And then I'll see you on the next episode, badasses.